Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. You've heard about various ways that you could get funding from the Community Foundation, and now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you might want to consider either your organization or your donors adding funds to the Community Foundation. As Katie mentioned earlier, we have about 190 agency endowment partners, and I'd like to do a little bit of audience participation like Serby did earlier. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I'm going to ask you to keep your hands raised. If you have an endowment fund that you manage as an organization yourself, separate from the Community Foundation, can I ask you to raise your hand? It's okay. Keep your hands raised. Now, if you have an endowment fund that you have with the Community Foundation, please raise your hands. Okay, everybody take a look around. Go ahead and put your hands down. Anybody considering an endowment fund, you don't have one just yet. Okay. So notice all the folks that had their hands raised earlier. You might want to talk to some of those folks. There's a lot of experience in the room. So Katie mentioned that this has been one of our focus areas over the years. We've run a number of matching programs. The Van Dusen Endowment Challenge was our very first program. Some people even refer to their endowment funds as the Van Dusen funds. We've also done Touch the Future and Increasing Regional Philanthropy. Many of those opportunities provided matching funds and valuable trainings. I actually talked to an executive director last week who said the training was one of the best things that she had ever done. It's a minimum of $10,000 to establish an endowment fund with us. And we now have one of the largest endowment programs of any community foundation in the country, with a variety of funds ranging from just over $10,000 to some that are several $1 million. And 190 is quite a number. So we're really pleased to partner with many of you. We also recognize it as a standard. Recently this year, Common Ground was recognized by Crane's Detroit Business as part of their best managed nonprofit competition. And one of the things that the committee pointed out was their endowment fund. That's why I said, if you don't have a fund with us and you're thinking about it, even if it's not with us, do it, because it really is a best practice. And we think that they're important for organizations to have. And so why would folks want to partner with the Community Foundation? And I'll talk, actually, before why, I'm going to talk a little bit about what endowment funds are, because sometimes it's confusing. Endowments, we consider to be permanent. They're not a rainy day fund. They're not a checking account. They are a permanent source of funds to support your organization in perpetuity. Permanent is a long time, but we want to be able to provide that ongoing source of support for your organizations. Most of our funds are for general operating support. In many cases, this is the toughest money to raise for your organizations. I've actually had one executive director explain to me that he views their endowment fund kind of like his individual retirement plan. It's tough to do, but you know you have to do it. You know you have to build those dollars so that it's going to support you in the long run. And so I think that that's a wonderful way to think of it. Also, a lot of lasting legacies are created out of these. We're now starting to see estate gifts coming into endowment funds. We're also seeing a lot of families and corporations that care about organizations setting up named funds to benefit those charities. And we don't have donor walls at the Community Foundation, but we do have a yearbook that a lot of people take a look at and want to be a part of. And so sometimes that named fund is really a great tribute to your organization. So why partner with us? We have expert investment oversight. We have an investment committee comprised of members of our board and some outside folks. We also work with a group called NEPC, formerly New England Pension Consultants. We have an annual investment briefing to invite folks in to talk about how the investments are doing. And typically we're taking that long-term view on investment strategy. We want to earn in that 6 to 8% range. There may be some blips from year to year where we're not hitting those targets, but we're really thinking about long-term benefits to your organizations and to the community. We also, because of the commingling of endowment assets, we track everything separately, but everything's commingled. So a $10,000 fund is going to have access to higher asset classes and performance opportunities than you would independently. So we think that combining of resources is fantastic. We also see reduced administrative fees. We charge 0.5% for our administrative fees. Even the investment fees, 0.7%. So typically these are lower fees than what you're going to see from an outside investment firm. If you can get lower fees somewhere else, go for it. But we think we offer a good deal. Also, in terms of gift acceptance, for those of you that have funds with us and you have donors making gifts to your funds, you know that we handle gift processing so that you don't have to. What we do is within 2 business days, we're sending out a gift acknowledgement letter. We copy the primary person at the organization so that you're having access to that information. But also in terms of gift acceptance, we think about other ways that we might be able to help your organization. Think about complex assets. Most organizations, or maybe not every organization, has the ability to take in stock gifts. We can do that very easily. We do that for a lot of organizations each year. We've also taken in some complex assets like LLC interests. We had a patent interest. So you think about things that maybe your organization isn't necessarily equipped to handle. We do have the expertise to be able to handle that gift for you. Also recently, we've seen a lot of estates coming to fruition. And when the Community Foundation is named as the beneficiary, your endowment fund, at the Community Foundation, we would be the ones working with the trustees to make sure that that gift comes to fruition. We've seen a lot of activity in recent years where those gifts become a little bit more challenging. You would think it's part of the estate plan, it's just going to happen automatically, but sometimes things happen in the estate settlement process where we're tracking things sometimes multiple years before a gift finally comes in. But we have one in particular right now that's in litigation because there's a person occupying the property that the estate is trying to sell. So we're working with the trust to make sure that that happens, and so the charities don't have to worry about that aspect of it. We're taking care of that. Also, in terms of access to staff, sometimes, I mentioned this last week, somebody from Rose Hill was here. I don't think we have anybody here this week, but sometimes you are experts in plan giving and endowment building, but sometimes having an outside source come in and talk to your board can be helpful. We do that quite a bit. On one of the snowiest days this winter, I went out and talked to the Rose Hill board, and they were really ecstatic. I don't know what Gail did, but she had them really fired up. And after the meeting, I had several plan gift inquiries, and we're starting to see some activity there. So sometimes it's just that outside voice to come in and talk. But also, if you want us to talk directly to your donors, we're happy to help with that. We don't do direct fundraising on your behalf, but sometimes we can help to close a gift because of the expertise that we have. Many of you also know my boss, Robin Farabee. He's an expert in estate planning. He's a former estate planning attorney. He helped write the current trust code in the state of Michigan. So we have a bit of expertise in the office. And having access to us as staff, I think, can be helpful to your organization as well. I'll also mention, too, because on the next couple of slides, you're going to see advertisements for endowment funds. And these are a little older. They have our old logo on them. But you'll see each one, we have some common messages that we have, and they can be customized with your logo for use in either a web publication or a print publication. And basically directs folks to contact you, but we can also set it up if you want them to contact us as well. This one is just a general ad, but you'll see some that are more specific for certain types of gifts. So I mentioned the marketing materials. These are available free to anybody. We also now have online giving for all of our endowment partners. So if you went onto our website, you could go to the Make a Gift section and donate online. I've had some executive directors say that I don't want to have my donors pick out my organization from a list of 190 organizations. They might want to make gifts to other organizations. Well, okay, so now we have an answer to that. We now have widgets. Essentially what the widget is a line of code that can be placed on your website, so it looks exactly like your website. Eunice Jeffries is here. She has that on her website right now, and it looks great. She tested it out the other day. So the widget actually looks like your site, but it's at the back office of our giving site. So it processes a gift to your endowment fund directly. And so they don't have to search through that list of 190 organizations. It's not so bad, though. Folks do support other charities. So if you want to direct them to our site, you can do that too. Also, some of you are going to stay after today for a presentation about Agency Central. This is a tool that we've used in the past for our donor advisors that we're now going to make it available to our agency partners to be able to see what your funds are doing on a regular basis. So you'll be able to get updated statements. You'll see fund balances. I know a lot of organizations report balances more often than we provide an annual statement typically. So if you need to report monthly or quarterly, you can go online 24/7 and be able to look up that balance information. So we think that's going to be a great tool. Also, we'll have some historic giving information there dating back to the year 2000. So if your development staff has turned over in the time since a gift in 2000 was made, you'll be able to go back and see that history. Also, I mentioned the visibility being part of our yearbook. Sometimes folks call and say, how come I wasn't listed in your yearbook? They might have given directly to you and not to your endowment fund through us. And so if they give to the fund through us, they'll be listed in our yearbook. A lot of times folks want to have that visibility there as well. Education programs. We are periodically doing training on things like charitable gift annuities, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second, but we've also brought in outside speakers to talk about endowment building. A couple years ago, we had Phil Purcell from the fundraising school come in, and he gave a great talk about those little magic boxes that you put on your reply cards to say, I've included you in my estate plan. Now, I'd like you to contact me. Some things that we kind of forget about sometimes, but basic little steps that we can do to increase plan giving and grow our endowment funds. So periodically we'll run programs like that. Folks have even referenced Touch the Future, and we've had some internal discussions to see if we can replicate some of that training on a more regular basis. And then our CGA program, we actually have the largest charitable gift annuity program in the country, more than 140 active annuities. More than 60 have already matured, so a total of more than 200. This is a plan giving tool. I won't go into a lot of the details, but it's a plan giving tool where a donor makes a contribution, gets an income for life, an immediate tax deduction. In the end, the fund it benefits your endowment fund with us. Typically, this is the kind of plan giving tool that universities and hospitals are able to offer. And we started offering this several years ago to our agency partners, and it's been very popular. At the end of 2014, we actually closed several new charitable gift annuities just in the last couple weeks of the year. And already one of those donors has set up a second gift annuity because she loved the concept so much. Hence the give, receive, receive that is specific to charitable gift annuities. So that really concludes our formal presentation. We're available to answer questions, and then I know some of you are going to stay afterwards for our Agency Central demo. So if I can see beyond the lights. Peg.
What are indicators that a nonprofit is ready to start an endowment?
I would think you need a couple of elements. We do typically want to review that audit, just like our program officers are reviewing on your grant application to us. We want to know that you have the ability to raise funds. And we want to see that the financials are healthy. You know, if you really are in need of that rainy day fund, that reserve fund, if cash flows are a struggle, putting money aside in an endowment fund might not be the best time for you to do that. So we want to take a look at what the financials look like. You know, there's actually some consultants that have gone around and said that endowment funds are trapped funds, that you shouldn't be setting up endowment funds. I'm a little bit biased. I think every organization should have a fund because endowments don't just magically appear. They take work. It takes time to build. But I would agree, though, if you're not ready, if you haven't done those other financial things, that maybe endowment isn't the right thing at the time. So we want to have those conversations. And just like your program officers, I'm happy to come out and talk with you. Call me on the phone, or we can come and talk to your board. I think I talked with the folks at the Solanas Casey Center a couple times before they decided to add a fund with us. And that's true for a lot of organizations. It's a deliberative process. You want to think hard about it. The funds are permanent. One of my former colleagues would say, marriage without the possibility of divorce. So you want to really consider if it's right for your organization. And we're happy to have that conversation with you. We want to thank you for coming. And again, if you take nothing from today, give us a call. We're happy to talk.